We're back out here at the Big Lake once again, and today we're talking about a common question that so many anglers seem to have so much trouble with. Stick around, we're going to talk all about it. There we go. Ooh, that feels pretty good. I think that's that's a good fish. Whoa, yeah, that's a good fish. Yeah, that's a good fish. Come on, buddy. What do we got? That's a nice bass. That's a really nice bass. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to lowbrow fishing. And there's something we talked about in a previous video. We touched on it a little bit, but it's something that I thought deserved its own video. I wanted to go more in detail about it because it's something that I notice a lot of anglers really struggle with. It's something that seems simple on its face, but the more you dig into it, the more you dive into it, the more complicated it can seem to become. So I just want to ask, why do you pick the lures that you pick? Seems simple enough, doesn't it? I pick the lures that I pick. I throw those baits because I want to catch fish, and I think those baits are going to give me the best chance. Or I throw those baits because that's what I want to throw. I'm out there, I'm having fun, and I want to throw those baits because that's how I want to fish. Or, and hopefully this is not the answer that you give, I picked those baits because lowbrow said it was a good idea, But the real reason, the best reason to pick your baits is so much more. Now we can just, select our baits how we want to based on the situation. And that's not entirely bad. That's not entirely bad. A lot of times it's a good thing. You can catch some fish doing that. And if you're just out there having fun and you're out on the water and you really don't care, you just want to fish a certain way, then that's fine too. But if you really want to tune your fishing game up, if you really want to maximize those fish catches, there's a way to select your baits, and it has to do with visually representing what those baits do under the water in your mind's eye, right? I have a specific way that I pick baits. Like whenever I picked this jerkbait today, I selected this jerkbait over all the other jerkbaits that I have, and I have many, but I picked this particular one, not just willy-nilly. I was fishing a certain depth. This can get down to that depth. I was looking to mimic shad, so we've got that shad pattern. It's a little cloudy, it's a little windy, so I'm taking advantage of that flash. You kind of see where I'm going with this. There was a process. But most importantly, I wanted to work this jerkbait a specific way in the water column. I wanted to do things with it to entice fish. You guys know that I like to work a jerkbait rather fast. I consider it like walking the dog underwater. I work it really, really quickly. Now, this Yo-Zuri jerkbait, this 3DB jerkbait, it's a suspending jerkbait. It works very well for that type of presentation. Something like a Rattling Rogue also works very well for that type of presentation. I give it quick twitches on a slack line, but I'm working it really quickly like I'm doing a topwater spook. You guys have heard me say that so many times in the past. But I'm doing that because I want this bait to work a certain way. I'm not casting and hoping that I catch a fish. As we've said so many times before on this channel, you create your own bites. You create your own opportunities. And it comes down to technique over tackle. And part of that technique is not just the rod you have in your hands or how you use it, but it's the baits that you select and the way that you select them. So I'm very particular about how and why I select my baits. There's another type of bait that I fish a lot, and it's topwater frog. I've got it tied on, and yes, I know this is completely the wrong setup. This is actually monofilament, but this is what I had to work with today. Normally this would be 30 to 50 pound braid on a broomstick, but this is what I had to work with today. So I tied the frog on here, but still and yet, the reason why we use the heavy braid is because those fish go down in the slop and it's hard to yank them out. to get this bait to work the way that I wanted to, I was still able to use this setup to do that. I was still able to get this topwater frog to work just exactly how I wanted it to work on the water. Now, I could have picked a poppin' frog, or I could have picked any number of frogs that I have. Scum frog, booyah. I have Kermie frogs from Bass Pro. I've got a whole selection. We all do, right? Fishing a frog is a lot of fun. But I picked this Spro frog, and I've shown it to you before. It almost looks like a tadpole, right? It's got the one tail. It's a very light green color, but that green color is almost secondary as opposed to how I want to fish it. This frog, I can fish it a certain way that just gets crushed. Instead of bobbing up and down in the water like a typical frog does, or kind of wiggling side to side, I can get this hollow body frog to skitter over the top of the water. And it's great. I get blown up on that. So I pick this frog for that reason. I don't just randomly choose a frog. I choose a frog for a specific reason, because I want to work a certain way. That's the one right there. See how it kind of skitters across the surface there? That's why I like this, and I can get it to do that with just minimum amount of rod action. Just tapping that rod down, and I can get that frog to kind of skitter across the surface, which is what I want. Somebody's lighting fireworks off in the park. Huh. But I just tap the rod straight down pretty much, and that frog kind of goes blink, blink, blink across the surface, and that's the action that I'm looking for. I find it is very, very effective. I have gotten big, huge blow-ups doing that. So I just tap it down. Now, not all my frogs do that, just this one. This particular frog, this is a scum frog, and it's only got one tail. But rather than bobbing up and down in the water, boink, 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 it kind of skitters across the top of the surface, which is what I want. I am very, very particular about which frog I pick and why. And when it comes down to it, I'm actually very particular about which baits I'm picking and why. I visualize in my head what I want that bait to achieve. And then I try to find the bait that mimics what I want it to do. Obviously, we're talking about fishing certain areas, right? Like when we talk about fishing a spinnerbait along timber, paralleling the bank and searching it with a spinnerbait. Well, there are certain spinnerbaits that I want. I want a spinnerbait that has maybe a Colorado blade and a willow blade, the tandem blade. I might want it to be a painted blade. I might want it to be a gold blade. I might want it to have a skirt or not have a skirt. I'm not just randomly picking a spinnerbait and chucking it out there. So there are so many different ways that we can pick baits. And like I said, when I picked this particular jerkbait today, it was with a reason and it was with a method. And I'm telling you what, it paid off in spades. I gotta get, yep, I'm out of position. I'm out of position now.
There we go. Ooh, that feels pretty good. I think that's a, nope, that's a good fish. Whoa, yeah, that's a good fish. Yeah, that's a good fish. Come on, buddy. What do we got? That's a nice bass. That's a really nice bass. Come here, you. Don't you get caught on the bottom. Ooh, the drag was all the way off. No wonder why I couldn't get him in. Come here, you. Oh no, 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 no. Get up over here. Get up over here, my man. That's a 4-pound bass, kids.
See, a very nice 4-pound bass that I caught working that jerkbait. I identified what I needed to do. I identified what I needed my bait to do. And then I selected based on that criteria. I wanted it to work a certain depth. I wanted to be able to work it a certain way. And I wanted it to have a certain appearance under the water. Now, all that goes together, right? Whenever you're selecting a color, it's not just randomly picking a color because, well, you like it or because somebody told you that it was a good color. Pick it because it's part of the process and you're selecting the right color for the job. Again, color's not end all be all, but it can have an impact, right? I picked the shad color one because I kind of wanted to mimic a shad, but more importantly, I wanted a little bit more flash from that white, a little bit more glint because we had some wind and a little bit of cloud cover. And again, it paid off very nicely. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today. A lot of guys, when I talk to them about why they select their baits, well, they've got the standard reasons. Well, because I think it's going to work here, or because, a square bill, I like to work down that bank. And those are not wrong. But develop that. Really dive into it. Think to yourself, I've got these 4 square bills in front of me. Which one should I select? Because they're not the same. Which one do I need to select and why? This one's got this type of wiggle. This one's going to get to this type of depth. This one's a rattleless. This one does not have any rattles in it. So rather than just picking things based on just the situation, pick baits based on what you need them to do when they're in the water. And when you use that methodology, when you use those techniques and you use that approach to select your baits based on those principles, well, you're going to find that your catch rate is just going to go right through the roof. You're going to hook up more bass and you're going to end up landing more bass, which of course is going to lead more confidence and better bait choices and selections. So there you have it. My method for when I select my baits. I'm very particular about how I do it, and I'm very particular about the baits that I use. And it's paid off for me. And I'm sure if you tried using that method, it would really pay off for you as well. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.